Good morning, Western Washington, and happy Tuesday. I'm Matthew Fab with Western Washington weather, and we obviously have a ton to talk about today as this major atmospheric river with major impacts continues slamming into Western Washington and the Pacific Northwest at large. So we're going to take a look at that here in just a second. So starting here with the satellite imagery, you can see, just a classic atmospheric river. Hawaii's way down here in the bottom left. So this is not a Pineapple Express. It's more coming from areas near the Philippines. And you can see how this is just slamming across the Pacific straight into the Northwest. And as we go into this morning, you can see how some of that rain has pushed south into southwest Washington and northwest Oregon there. That's how it's going to continue through about midday today, and then it's going to push back north, and we're going to have another round with even more rain than we had yesterday across western Washington through Thursday, and that's going to only exacerbate the flooding and, in fact, make it a lot worse. So we'll take a look at all of that as we go through the video today, starting with the overall pattern. The atmospheric river rides up along the north side of a ridge and south of the trough. And you can see how that pattern continues all the way through Wednesday and Thursday before that ridge pushes north and kind of kicks the atmospheric river out of the area by the time we go into Thursday and Friday there. But then by the time we go into next week, we do open the door to more systems as this ridging moves off to the east. So that's something we have to watch as well. So now taking a look at the precipitation type forecast here, you have the atmospheric river there moving across parts of Oregon. You can see as we go through the day today, it starts to lift back north. By the time we get to this evening, we got rain spreading across western Washington yet again. You can see those snow levels are high. There's not very much snow falling there in the mountains as we go into Wednesday morning. That heavy rain continues across the lowlands all the way through Wednesday night and into Thursday morning. You can see there that rain continuing for parts of the Central Cascades all the way through midday Thursday into the evening before we do dry out. Looks like the first time we are completely dry across western Washington there, especially through the lowlands, is about 1 a.m. Friday. So we got a while to go here. And you can see some showers continue as we go into Friday night into Saturday morning, and then we do dry out for good there for a little bit there Saturday evening, but then the next system moves in, just bringing a light round of rain as we go through the day Saturday, and then we open the door, like I was saying, to more systems going into Sunday, into Monday, and we may have some more heavy rain associated with these, so we have to watch them closely. This is precipitable water. Obviously, we've been looking at this for almost a week now, and you can see that atmospheric river signature going into Oregon right now. But look at what happens as we go into tonight and then into Wednesday. Look at some of these values. Just a strong atmospheric river yet again, almost as strong or stronger than our first round of rain here, moving into western Washington as we go through Tuesday into Wednesday, continues all the way through Wednesday, straight aimed at western Washington, then continues into Thursday as well before it looks like it's going to start to lift north out of the area by the time we get all the way to Thursday night into early Friday morning. As that ridge starts to push north there, you can see even through Friday afternoon that atmospheric river is still pretty close to us, but it's mainly aimed in Vancouver Island, and then by Saturday, it's fully out of the area. And then as we go through Sunday, that weak system that moves through is actually the remnants of the atmospheric river pushing south out of the area as we go into Sunday night. And then you can see lots more moisture out here, a lot more potential for even more atmospheric rivers really going into next week. So we have to watch that very closely. Now, taking a look at this here, we do have another round of wind potentially on Wednesday, looking at gusts maybe 40 to 50 miles per hour on the coast and 40 to 45 miles per hour yet again, especially from Everett southward here in the lowlands. And then you can even see the Shelton area there on the Kitsap Peninsula potentially getting some strong gusts as well. We'll have to see how that plays out. We'll take a look at this again tomorrow in the video, but it does look like we're going to have another round of wind there on Wednesday. Then you can see the mountains, again, some crazy gusts up in the ridges, and then maybe another round of gusty winds for areas from Spokane down toward the Tri-Cities and over toward Pullman there, with maybe gusts of 50 to 60 miles per hour potentially on Wednesday for parts of eastern Washington there. So now taking a look at what we really want to talk about, how's all that rain playing out? So you can see this is our simulated radar on the high-resolution and rapid refresh model. As we go through today, you can see that rain starts to push back north a little bit as we go to about midday there, and then that atmospheric river hits back into western Washington. Yet again, high snow levels, heavy rain in the lowlands. That continues as we go into Tuesday night. Maybe a little bit of a break by midnight there, but then as we go into Wednesday, it just slams back in. You can see that rain continuing just not only in the lowlands, but how it never stops in the mountains, even when you get some of these rain shadowing effects here with the Olympic Mountains. And then going into Wednesday night there, you can see I can refresh this. Actually, we can get a little bit further out in this forecast, so let's do that. Wednesday night there, you can see it just keeps going, and even all the way into Thursday. I mean, it actually starts to push south a little bit again as we go into Thursday morning, and just all this rain that's falling here in the Central Cascades, that's going to be what's causing the problems for the flooding. So we need to look at that in a little bit more detail. This is the European model looking at total precipitation through Friday night. So this is basically what is still to come here, and you can see across the lowlands you're looking at 1.5 to 2.5 more inches of rain, basically from the Canadian border all the way down through the Willamette Valley. You can see the coast looking at another 2 to 3 inches of rain, and then look at the Cascades. You're looking at an additional 5 to 8 inches of rain for the Cascades, especially the Central Cascades here from Snohomish County down toward Lewis County, and this is where the majority of the rivers are coming out of, and that is where you get all this major flooding potential here. And then when you look at the high-resolution rapid refresh model, this is really what concerns me, to be honest. This is a high-resolution model. It did pretty good yesterday. You can see you get the rain shadow pretty dramatic there on the northern Kitsap Peninsula over toward Everett and parts of Seattle. But look north and south of that rain shadow. You can see south of it places like Seattle itself, and then down toward Tacoma and Shelton and Olympia and like Puyallup and all that, getting an additional 1.5 to 3 inches of rain by the time we get to Thursday morning. Look north of that rain shadow. Areas including Whidbey Island, Arlington, Mount Vernon, Bellingham, all getting another 2 inches of rain. Take a look at the coast, 1.5 to 3 inches of rain there. And then you see a little bit of rain shadowing effects with the coast range down toward Portland, but still almost another inch of rain for Portland. And then the thing that's really concerning here is look at these values showing up in the Central Cascades. Additional precipitation for most of the Cascades, especially the Central Cascades here, between 7 to 15 inches. And this is really why we're looking at some of these flooding forecasts and seeing that there's 2 peaks. That first peak is happening today, probably over the next 6 to 12 hours. And then that second peak is actually looking higher going into Wednesday and Thursday because of how much more rain is coming with this second round of the atmospheric river. Basically more rain than what we got all of the day yesterday. So pretty interesting stuff that could be pretty damaging for some areas. Real quick look at temperatures here before we look at the rivers. You can see highs in the low to mid 50s today. As we go into Wednesday, the atmospheric river moves back in. Those highs go way up into the upper 50s for parts of western Washington, nearly the low 60s around Portland. Same thing there on Thursday, highs in the mid to upper 50s across parts of western Washington. Look at the mountains too. You got highs in the 40s. And then as we go into Friday, the atmospheric river starts to push out of the area, but the temperatures remain warm with highs in the mid 50s again. Maybe some upper 50s for southwest Washington, upper 40s though north of Everett. And then you can see even as we go into Saturday, we still remain warm with some of that ridging over us, highs in the mid to upper 50s across the region. Look at the mountains on Saturday warming up even more, and that doesn't really help anything, just keeps any remaining snow melting and keeps the rivers fed basically. Then as we go into Sunday, we do cool down a little bit there. The mountains cool back down a little bit, but still well above freezing, and highs in the lowlands remaining in the mid to upper 50s. So we're definitely running about as above average as you can get for December. So now taking a look at the rivers, and this is how we're going to wrap up the video. I'm not going to click on each one individually, but we will look at a few. So the Nooksack River up in Ferndale is expected to get into minor flood stage. It's an action stage right now, and it's rising rapidly. But see that second peak as you go into Thursday evening, that's kind of what you're looking at there. Up in Ferndale, the Skagit River at Mount Vernon, it's rising in concrete to minor flood stage. It's rising into action stage in Mount Vernon. You see a peak tonight, and then look at that secondary peak going into Friday. I mean, you're a foot off the record for the Skagit River and Mount Vernon. That is pretty extreme right there. Moving down the line, the Stillaguamish River in Arlington, it has already peaked this morning at minor flood stage. It's going to peak again in minor flood stage as you go into Thursday. And then, of course, the Snoqualmie River system, which includes the Skykomish, Snohomish, and Snoqualmie rivers. This is perhaps the most concerning forecast in all of western Washington, that you have the forecast of being nearly 2 feet above the record for like 12 hours. This is really potentially quite devastating for the city of Snohomish and for the surrounding areas. You could have extreme levee damage and stuff like this when you're getting 2 feet above the record. That's really concerning to see. The Skykomish River up near Gold Bar, this drains into the Snohomish River down there. You can see it peaked in major flood stage overnight. We had some water rescues reported in Gold Bar. It peaks again in major flood stage, even higher as we go into Wednesday night into Thursday. The Snoqualmie River incarnation, obviously, there's a lot that happens in the Snoqualmie Valley. This is going to peak today in moderate flood stage, about Tuesday, 4 p.m. Then you can see we get that secondary peak in major flood stage yet again as we go into Thursday evening, and kind of Thursday midday, I guess. This is the one everyone can see, Snoqualmie River at the falls. A big thing going on right here. Look at that major flood stage on the Snoqualmie River at Snoqualmie Falls, and it's still rising rapidly. And then it looks like we're going to drop off and then peak again as we go into Wednesday night into Thursday, even higher. So Snoqualmie Falls, obviously, if you go see Snoqualmie Falls today, it'll be raging like it hasn't really in the last 5+ years. So this is pretty significant to see. The Cedar River doesn't flood very often, but it will flood in moderate flood stage, potentially even getting up toward major flood stage. This is at Landsberg, down near Maple Valley. There you can see it has peaked today in action stage, but it's going to rise again and peak Thursday there in moderate flood stage. And then take a look. The Green River in Auburn does not flood very often either, and is rising rapidly over the last 24 hours, going to peak in minor flood stage as we go through Thursday into Friday and remain above bank full way off into next week. This is a really concerning one as well. The White River in Auburn, you can see it's rising rapidly today, going to continue rising with a huge peak in major flood stage. And this is what's concerning to me here, is that the White River peaks at major flood stage Thursday evening and then remains very high all the way through Monday and Tuesday of next week. And this can really cause some problems around Auburn and Pacific and Sumner if this verifies here and we get to these very high levels. So we got to watch that one closely. We got a couple that are flooding pretty big right now. South Prairie Creek, the flood warning is misplaced here. There is a flood warning in effect for South Prairie Creek, but it was put over Ording and not South Prairie. You can see it peaked already this morning, and it's going to crest again going into Wednesday night into Thursday in moderate flood stage. The Puyallup River in Ording, it is just now starting to drop down from major flood stage where it peaked this morning. It's going to go back up to major flood stage as we go into tomorrow, and this may get pushed back a little bit because this is pretty quick for it to go all the way back up into major flood stage by tomorrow morning. So we may push that back a little bit, but still really big flooding there in Ording. The Carbon River also goes through Ording. It has crested in major flood stage just under a foot off the record from the extreme 2006 flood, which is just shocking to see. It's going to crest in major flood stage for a second time as you go into Wednesday night. And moving a little bit further south here, we'll try to get through as many as we can. This is the Nisqually River near National above the Alder Dam. You can see it crested in moderate flood stage overnight. It's going to crest again in major flood stage as we go into Wednesday night into Thursday. Going a little bit further south here, the Cowlitz River at Packwood. You can see it crested in moderate flood stage as we went into last night. And then it's going to crest in major flood stage, a foot off the record again there as we go into Wednesday morning. Moving down the Cowlitz to Randall. It is in moderate flood stage right now. It's going to crest this afternoon and not really going to go down very much. And it's going to crest again as we go into Thursday, about 2 feet off that record, maybe a little bit less. So really big flooding there, likely going to close US 12, which is a concern for sure. The Newicomb River there in Chehalis. There we go. It is cresting right now. It's going higher than forecast. It's almost to the record. We're about half a foot off the record right now. It's going to crest today, then crest again as we go into Wednesday night. The Skookumchuck River near Bucota, again, there's a lot of rivers that converge right there around Chehalis. It's cresting right now and then going to crest again Thursday morning. As we look at the Chehalis River in Grand Mound, you can see it's on its way for a really long crest there in major flood stage all the way through Friday. And then in the southwest Washington area here, you can see the Willapa River there in Willapa. This is mainly controlled by the tide, but look at all this runoff. It's cresting in moderate flood stage there near Raymond and South Bend. That was not forecast. It was not forecast to get up there, so that was pretty interesting to see. Same thing there with the Grays River crested in major flood stage last night, going to crest again in moderate flood stage as we go into Wednesday. The Nassau River there near Nassau, so southern reaches of Willapa Bay, crested way up in major flood stage and is still dropping. They're not going to get above flood stage anymore. And then the last one we will look at here is the Cowlitz River in Kelso. You can see it is starting to rise, and it's going to crest twice. You got a crest today and then a crest on Wednesday, and then it remains pretty high in Kelso there all the way off into next week. So obviously, if you zoom back out here, you can see the picture we're painting here is not great. We do also have flooding into eastern Washington. I'll post about that on my social media, but I'm not going to cover it here on the western Washington channel. But basically, all these purples, major flood stage, and it's just going to continue here all the way through Thursday into potentially Friday for some places, and a few rivers lasting all the way into next week. So it could be a pretty rough go of it for some folks. So obviously, we will stay tuned to all of this, and I will continue updating this on my social media. We'll try to do another video tonight, and we'll see what we can do with that. So, of course, excessive rainfall outlook outlook for today. This is what we'll wrap it up with. You can see Cascades, but mainly Willamette Valley there and northwest Oregon for today's excessive rainfall with where the atmospheric river is. But look at tomorrow. That excessive rainfall not only includes the Cascades and the Olympics, but includes the entire Seattle metro area from Everett all the way down south toward Portland. And then going into Thursday, you can see that weakens a little bit, and you get just the marginal risk instead of this much higher slight risk there. So obviously some pretty bad stuff coming up here, some potentially big flooding, and all of it's happening at the same time, which makes it even worse. So be sure to subscribe here to Western Washington Weather for all the latest updates, and follow the Western Washington Weather Facebook group, and follow me on Twitter and Blue Sky as well. All these links are in the description below. Got a lot of updates coming out, and so stay safe out there, please, especially on the roads. Got a lot of standing water and stuff like that, and we got even more rain coming. So stay tuned for more, and I will talk to you guys all later.